Another Andrei Tarkovsky film for this program, today 1983's Nostalgia. A superlative masterpiece from the mighty Tarks, this film is considered partially autobiographical, inspired by the director's trip to Italy. Aside from being one of the most impressive acts of film direction on record, Nostalgia continues the existential ferocity which culminated in 1979's Stalker and proposes a further exploration of the discussion. Our protagonist finds himself looking for something in Italy, only to be homesick for Russia. To sum it up, the grass is always greener on the other side. After attempting to carry a candle across a distance without the wind blowing it out, and doing so successfully, one considers that the journey restores vigor to an appreciation of life. Or perhaps not. This may be a vulgar takeaway from this Tarkovsky masterpiece, although its protagonist seems at least temporarily elated by his success, as are the onlookers. Cinematographer Giuseppe Lanci did a great job here. Together with Tarks, they composed one of the very finest films of the 1980s and of all time. I tend to think of this as perhaps my third favourite of Tarkovsky's filmography. My favourite would be Andrei Rublev, with Stalker in second. For those of you who have seen this film, you likely already are aware of this film's power and wholly agree. Or perhaps not. Let me know if you disagree and why. If you haven't seen this film, I implore you to sit down with it and see if you cannot get anything out of it. Go into it with an open mind. Imagine this is some film your friend made and it's screening in their basement. Forget it has intellectual pretensions or any kind of reputation behind it, and experience it. Perhaps the culmination of traditional philosophical musings in narrative cinema, Tarkovsky was the apotheosis of a tradition which began in perhaps Bergman, certainly popularized in Bergman, to the extent wherein Bergman considered Tarks the greatest film director of all time. It is vital to know that Tarkovsky's screenplay was co-written with Tonino Guerra, who had helped write several of Michelangelo Antonioni's classic films. This collaboration is phenomenal, and is indicative of how one film could be so profoundly powerful, even by Tarkovsky's high standard. I think in crafting something so relentlessly autobiographical and personal, Tarkovsky forces his subjectivism to resonate with our own, forming a kind of, what feels like, an objective insight into any and all existential malaise. Whilst this work is so reliant on its screenplay, and its success bound to the realization of such a strong screenplay, the choreography employed is of the highest possible standard. Tarkovsky's sorcerous coordination is transfixing and inescapably impressive. Was Tarkovsky indeed the greatest filmmaker of all time? It is very possible for Tarkovsky's films to be the very best one might have seen, although I tend to place Tarkovsky away from the very top spot, although he might easily land in my top 30. The main reason I mightn't rank Tarkovsky as high as certain others has more to do with his limited filmography than anything else. Nevertheless, Nostalgia is an incomparable cinematic masterpiece, and I implore everyone to see it during their lifetime.